Going live. Are we live? Yeah, there we go. All right. Little camera thingy came on. It's all good. All right. Well, let's see what happens. Let's see if it actually stays on this time. Okay. Now, if that's the case, then we can go here now that it's on in its own private Idaho over here. All right, so that's going. For those of you who want to go to YouTube and watch me, lock and load. I see it. For those of you who want to go over there and watch me, I am on there now. And I finally got the camera set up so that I'm looking basically at in the same direction. Now I know that if you're really good, you can stream on several platforms at once using, I forget the name of it, something stream, and it's got a duck for anyway. Now, since I'm not doing that, let's go to what I am doing, which is checking on silver. It's down, by the way. And the reason it's down, okay, it's up, but it was down. Now it's up. Overseas, it's up. The reason it went down is because clearly the war is not actually over. I mean, yeah, it's over. It's over in the sense it's over. Well, okay, let me explain so that you guys can understand. When they say that the war is over, what I think they mean is sort of a 5D chess kind of a situation. They mean that the war is over there. It's over there. It's not over as in it's done. We're just getting started. Are you sick of winning already? I don't think so. Bunch of stuff to pay taxes. Ooh, that sucks. Yeah, hey man, that's what they do. That's, this is kind of how it works. They love to get you. As soon as you're not looking. All right, so we're back up 40 cents. I mean, it was down $2, which who cares? Down $2, up $2. It's generally staying in the same area until one of two things happens. Okay, if we escalate like we did last night, it dropped, obviously, and it will probably drop a little bit more, maybe not. I wouldn't bet on that, by the way, because it could cost you bigly. But if the hostilities actually cease, like really cease, then there is an actual chance that the world gets back to building stuff. Now, if the world gets back to building stuff, I can tell you for a fact, there's no way it is physically impossible for silver not to go to $150 an ounce very quickly, like within months. The reason I say that is because right now, well, okay, not right now, actually, let me clarify. Up until the end of February, the world was using 3.6 of silver every year, using it up. Poof, disappears. Okay? Goes in cars, goes into trucks, goes into airplanes, goes into bombs, solar panels, computers, lots and lots and lots for data centers, tons. And the reason that we can't get more of it is because it's in the opposite of the Goldilocks zone. It's in this zone where it's so cheap that it's not worth going after. Okay, copper. Copper is what, $4 a pound? So why do they have copper mines? Because when you find a good vein of copper, you can get hundreds of thousands of tons of copper without really having to do a lot of digging. Shit, okay. And then you might find some silver in there, by the way, too. 70% of silver comes out of mines that are not specifically silver mines. And the reason is it's not affordable to open a silver mine in most cases. There's not enough just silver. So, how do you fix that? Easy. $200 silver, $300 silver. At $300 an ounce, we're now getting into the realm of, okay, it's worth opening a copper mine or a silver mine. Now, if it's $400 or $500, well, now all of a sudden you may see the production go from 800 million. Think about that. We're using 3.6 billion ounces per year. We're producing 800 million. That is not even close. That's damn near 3 billion ounces short every year. Well, okay, we had strategic reserves. So did China. So did everybody else. They're gone. They're gone. That's it. So all of a sudden, in the last 24 months, you start seeing things like Russia announcing, "Oh yeah, we're going to have a strategic silver reserve." The United States of America, Trump said, "We will have a strategic silver reserve." They're now considering silver to be a strategic asset that is of national importance. Okay, just out of nowhere. China said not only is it a strategic asset, but they will no longer export it. Period. There is an export ban on silver. Period. Well, wait a minute. 36 months ago, they were the second largest exporter of silver on Earth. It was Mexico, and then China, and then Peru. So what happened? They went from exporting hundreds and hundreds of thousands of ounces, millions of ounces a month to saying no more. No, actually, it's worse than that. They went from saying no more export to we'll buy everything you've got. We're going to start cutting deals with the Peruvian government and the Peruvian mining companies to buy their doré and then refine it down to 999 fine once we get back to China. Why would you pay twice as much as everybody else in the world for unrefined silver and refine it yourself? Because that way you don't have to tell anybody and nobody can find out exactly how much silver you have. If you buy it once it's refined in the form of ounces or metric tons, it's reported. But if you buy doré, then you can refine it yourself. We'll still be able to estimate and guess, but we won't know for sure. It sounds to me like China's taking this a little bit more seriously than the rest of us are. When it comes to making sure that they've got enough silver, they're being very careful. Now, here's an interesting fact that virtually nobody knows. I've mentioned it here before, but I'm one of the few people who's ever talked about this. The idea that China would help LBMA. The LBMA, what does that mean? Oh, the London Bullion Market Association. They're direct competitors with China. China would never, on purpose, help them. However, because the LBMA was so short on delivery that they couldn't make the delivery of silver 6 months ago, China stepped in and sold them 600 million ounces. 600 million ounces is a huge amount of silver. That's silver that China needed for production of electronics. Why would you do that? Well, because there's the short term and the long term. The short term was, yeah, we got to give up 600 million ounces Yeah, that hurts. Or we can let the LBMA, which is the backbone of global markets, collapse. And if we do, we could easily see $500 an ounce silver and $15,000 an ounce gold almost overnight. Okay, well, that would bankrupt everybody. I mean, you want to pay $4,500 for an iPhone? No, nobody does. So the metals that go into it, what is it? A kilo of gold that goes into a cruise missile. I forget how many pounds of silver go into an F-22 Raptor. But I mean, everything that we've got not only uses silver, but needs silver specifically because it transfers heat better than copper. So you can't, a lot of the stuff that we make with silver, it's electronic, you can't make with gold or copper. You have to use silver. It's going to be an interesting ride because if we get these hostilities over with quickly, we'll get back to needing a lot more silver. If we don't, we keep this insanity up in the Middle East, well, it's still going to be very interesting because the amount of inflation that we're dealing with is going to be off the chart. Absolutely off the chart. Either way, like you look at this, could be phasing 10, 12, 13, guaranteed. Guaranteed. And what happened the last time that happened to silver? It went up by several 100% almost overnight. Do I think it'll go up several 100% this time? No. Could it easily double this year? There's no doubt in my mind. But the difference between 150 and 300 is quite large. If this war keeps dragging on, and God forbid it escalates, we're almost guaranteed $150 gold by the end of the year. If we quit screwing around in Iran and everybody gets back to work and we start making products again and we don't have $150 a barrel oil, then at that point, well, I think that we could be $300 gold or $300 silver. This is my opinion. By the way, I saw something really interesting. Notice how last week I was talking about the fact that I kept doing the numbers in these data centers just doesn't add up. Well, I didn't know the exact numbers, but I knew that we have a lot of data centers. Why do we need so many? And I told you guys, it wasn't about AI. This can't be about AI. Well, it's a funny thing. Another guy, I'll find his name. Last name's Lee, L-I. And he's got a thing on YouTube. Shark Cat. He talked about it last night, and after I got the live stream, I watched his show, and I thought, "Holy smoke, I was right." So the average data center silver use, it's got to be thousands of pounds. You have to understand the biggest problem with the data center is the heat that's produced. Well, there's the only way that you can have something that can not only withstand the heat but also transfer electricity without building up so much resistance that it just won't flow is silver. So you need a huge amount of silver. So, but here's the thing. We've already got 5,000 data centers in the United States. I didn't know that. 5,000? I mean, they're in China? 450. We have a lot of data centers here. A lot. Huh. We're literally in the process of permitting or constructing right now an additional 3,000 data centers. Yes, absolutely, you should be buying silver. I love gold. Gold's great, but the copper is the money of peasants. Um, Silver is the money of business people, and gold is the money of kings. The reason I say that, by the way, is because when we get into a financial crisis, which I believe we will. Now, when I say financial crisis, let me be real clear about that, because what I envision, this is what I do for a living, put a lot of time into this. When we switch over, after we build, or during the time that we're building all of these data centers, which are not for AI, they're for surveillance. Make no mistake about it. They are for surveillance. We are building a surveillance state, the likes of which no one has ever even imagined before. The surveillance state that we will live in 5 years will be so incredibly overbearing that you can't even imagine it right now. You can't even imagine it right now. And of course, people say, well, this is the United States. Well, that's a good point, BB. Already has it. They only have 450 data centers. We've already got 5,000 data centers. There's a data center down the street from me, 1 million square feet. It is the main hub data center for all of Apple. And it's right here in the valley. What do we need 3,000 more of them for? We already have 5,000 of them. Well, I can tell you this. If you had a total of almost 10,000 data centers, these data centers are thousands and thousands of acres all combined. I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of acres. An acre is 43,560 square feet. Okay? So 43,560 square feet is about the size of a super Walmart. When you go into one of these old redneck super Walmarts, it just goes on forever. That's about an acre. Now, think about this. Imagine 200 of those. 1 million square feet. That's what Apple's data center is in Mesa, Arizona. It's 1 million square fucking feet. That's one. That's one data center. They're going to have a total of 8,000 of them. How much computing power does that make exactly when you have literally trillions of dollars? That's what the government just announced. Sure, we've put a couple trillion into tech already. There's more. And put it in perspective, SpaceX is going public. It's about a $1.75 trillion IPO. There's a lot of money out there. How many ounces should somebody own is completely up to them. I mean, it has to do with, number one, in a perfect economy, if you have a great stock portfolio, a good asset base, you've got a great income, a minimum of 10% of your total net worth, everything you own combined, 10% of that should be in gold or silver or both, period. That's in a perfect economy if you feel like everything's going great. Perfect example would be 90s. This is not the 90s. So what I tell people is as much as you possibly can. And the reason for that is a lot of people think, well, I want to be safe, but I also want to make money. Okay, let me put it to you like this. Since 2000, silver has gone up by 1,620%. Is that enough? Is that good? It's gone up an average of 39% annually. That's not enough. I don't know what is. Like, just buy a lottery fucking ticket. That should be enough. A newbie should store gold and silver all over the place. What's happening, Marty? Is the end of the world hitting? No, it's not. Thankfully. I don't think Bitcoin is going to zero at all. I own Bitcoin. Now, do I take Bitcoin seriously enough that I put my whole life savings in it? Fuck no. No way. However, do I think that Bitcoin is as good a retainer of your worth, your net worth, as this ass wipe? You bet I do. This is garbage. This is an absolute fucking joke. And trust me, right now, this is a dog collar on the world that's choking them, and they're pissed. And as soon as they can throw off this shackle, they will. Then we're really screwed. Nobody likes the United States anymore. We've literally made ourselves the bad guy in every storyline except our own. So we're the captain of our own sinking ship. We sunk ourselves through our policies. So at this point, nobody wants dollars, but they're stuck with them until we can completely end the petrodollar. That's why they're already working on switching over to a cyber currency. Trust me, we could have all gotten it for that much. And, that's the thing. There are people out there, I don't know many of them, but there are people out there that have been collecting silver, just putting it aside very quietly for 40 years. This is 1986. They've just been tucking it away. No big deal. God bless them, man, because they are sitting on a gold mine, literally. But most people don't do that. And that's okay. That's all right. You learn when you learn. Until you know, you don't know. So now you know. Silver, and by the way, just to be clear, because everybody assumes that I must have a number. You're right, they do. Oh, Bitcoin will go for years and years and years. Now that the government figured out a way to spy on you, they don't have a problem with it. Just remember that the government was really pissed about Bitcoin, called it for drug dealers and child traffickers and pedophiles. Remember them saying that? That's all Bitcoin was for. Drug dealers and human trafficking, especially the pedophiles. Hey, that's their currency. And then they figured out how they could actually monitor it and how they could actually break through so that there was no more anonymity. Then they were fine with it. Nice. It's not a bad idea. No. Nobody deserves that. So, bottom line is that right now we're working on a surveillance state that is insane. Ripple, XRP, the whole internet, of money. Yeah, it's possible. I'm not convinced the government's going to use it. That's the problem. That worries me. We don't know if they're going to come out with their own complete system, if they're working on their own Fed coin and delivery system. We know this. We know that they've completely and utterly lied to us. Totally lied to us. Trump said that there was no way he was ever going to allow a central bank digital currency, period. DeSantis down in Florida, they actually ran through a bill that made it illegal for a central bank digital currency to be used as a currency in the state of Florida. So why is it that in the Housing Act that they passed a few months ago, they had a little piece put in there about allowing a digital currency, a central bank digital currency? wait a minute, you guys promised that you weren't going to do that. Well, what we meant was we weren't going to have a central bank direct to you central currency. See, here's the problem. Central bank digital currency, banks become pretty much irrelevant other than they're like mortgage companies. That's it. Other than a loan, you don't need a bank. So what they did was they said, oh, well, what we meant was we meant that we wouldn't have retail central bank digital currency. What does a retail central bank digital currency mean? And what's the difference between that and, I assume, a wholesale? Well, wholesale is we have a digital currency, but that digital currency is given to banks, and then they give it out to you. The same way we do with these horseshit things. So it's the same system. Yeah, it's the same system. I mean, we can track the digital currency, obviously. We can't track this. Okay, so I get it. The commercial banks, when they found out about a central bank digital currency, had a shit fit. Hi, Monica. They had a shit fit. They said, whoa, you're going to cut us out of the loop? No, you're not. We're the guys who invent usury. You don't cut us out of the loop. And, of course, the government's, no. We would never do that. You guys are in charge. What we are going to do, though, is we're going to have a central bank digital currency. We come up with the central bank digital currency, then we give it to you guys. And then you guys disperse it the same way you normally would with the fake money we play with now. Because 97% of the American dollars in existence are digital. They're not actually dollars. They're just ones and zeros in a computer somewhere. So we already have digital money. We're just going to be able to track it a lot better now. And by the way, that pesky 3%, which does add up to hundreds of billions of dollars annually, that will go away. So all you smart asses out there who think you're going to buy and sell shit without us, you're not buying or selling shit without the government knowing exactly what it is, what you paid for it, and what you sold it for. Therefore, how much you owe us in taxes. Garage sales? Fuck you. Garage sales will be taxed from now on. You think you're just going to sell off all your old stuff and put that money in your pocket without giving Uncle Sam his fair share? That's not going to happen. Because you can't sell anything with cash anymore. Now, do you understand why I think you probably want a whole bunch of these? Because there's going to be an entire market, a whole market. Bullshit. That's funny. Digital. With a name like that, you among anybody should understand what the government's doing with all these data centers. They're going to be tracked. They're going to track everything. Every single thing you buy, sell, look at online, fantasize about, lust over, get angry about. They will know it all. All of it. Did you realize that the Department of Justice went after Don Lemon? Now, Don Lemon, not a big fan of Don Lemon's. I've always found that his race baiting, rageful, all that stuff. This guy I have nothing to talk to him about. So when it comes to that, I'm not a fan of his. However, when I found out that the DOJ had tried to get a warrant for his website so that they could then get, and this is what they requested, they actually had the balls to ask for this, all of the personal information for every one of his subscribers their names, their addresses, their ages, their IP addresses, their credit card information, everything. Don Lemon has over 1 million people that follow him on YouTube. Now, is he a complete wacko doodle retard? Yes, I think so. Does that mean that the government should have the right to go in and by the way, this is Republicans that are trying to find out who exactly is it that supports this guy? What? Wait a minute, guys. That's not part of the deal. We don't do that. We don't spy on people from the opposite party. Now, clearly, we're not supposed to. I just got restricted for hate speech. Hate speech or hateful behavior. I don't know anything about Operation Arctic Frost. But I do know that when it comes to things like these data centers, what are we doing? Like everybody's up in arms about the fact that oh man, they're going to use too much water. Oh, the electricity bill is going to go up. That's what you're worried about. Okay, look, whatever it takes to get people off the couch and out into the street with a sign in their hand at least, okay, that's good. So if you're mad about the fact that go for it. If you're angry that they're going to be sucking up all the groundwater and there'll be none for you, great. The reality is that what you should probably be concerned with is that you will be tracked in a way that you can't even imagine. The most dystopian movie that you can think of, whether it's Minority Report or whatever it is, that's what they are actually doing. That is actually what they are up to right now. They are building a surveillance network like the world has never seen before. All of these flock cameras that are going up all over the place. Oh, it's for your protection. We're the police, and we need you. We need you to be protected. You need to be protecting us from what? Oh, haven't you seen? There's a small group of people who are very, very violent, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's almost like you created a group of very violent people in order to scare the people who weren't violent into submission. They would accept this surveillance state. Very strange. Let's see, you can generate more electricity, but this is a limited resource that can't be manufactured. Water, got it. Let's see. Always thought pigeons were government. No, those are God's cameras. Pigeons are God's cameras. That's how he keeps track of us. So, there's leave the app. No, you don't want to leave the app. What is going on here? Send one stream to the primary. More than one ingestion is using the primary URL. I have no idea what that even means. Yeah, flock cameras definitely make me a little nervous. A little bit nervous. Now, Iran's been bombing us today because we were bombing them yesterday. Sort of a tit for tat, except they made it very clear that they're not going to do tit for tat anymore. See, they were doing tit for tat. They made it clear that they're going to escalate. Now it's tit for tat, tat, tat. Remember that. Tit, tat, tat, tat. So whatever we do to them, like, to give you an example, we punch a hole in the side of an Iranian oil tanker. Major, just, the engine room. As far as we know, hopefully nobody was killed. Because a lot of people don't realize this, but apparently, from what I've heard, Iranians are actually humans too. Who would have thunk it, right? They're like us. I mean, they're not Americans, so fuck them. They're not as good as us. Still, it could be glass tomorrow. Yeah, that would probably be the end of humanity. We could hit them with a B-52 strike like we did 1,300 times over the course of 2 months. How'd that work for us? And by the way, I hope that you're as wealthy as I think you are, because only a rich man says, hey, fuck it, spend a couple $100 billion of my tax money. I got way more, because it's coming out of your pocket as well as mine and everybody else's. So, let's see, what do we get? Well, stocks go down. No, stocks don't go. Oh my God, stocks went down. Why did Dow Jones go down more than anything else? Because we don't have industrials? Huh. The chlorine gas bomb. Man, you definitely need some psychiatric help. That is not something that I would do to other humans. Let's see, stocks go down. Historic S&P win streak ends as U.S. macro soars. Huh. Well, no, I know exactly what it is. I was an NBC officer in the Marine Corps, nuclear, biological, and chemical, so I know. Did the AI pop? No. No, it's just, we started trading punches with Iran again, and or I should say that we got punched by Iran. They've been sort of watching us not doing much as we keep shooting at them and saying, well, it's a self-defense, You can only get punched in the mouth a few times by some asshole who says it's self-defense before you finally defend yourself. So that's where we're at. Let's see, Iran's missile attack on Kuwait International Airport leaves 1 dead, 63 injured, many in serious condition. There is a huge fucking hole in the top of Kuwait International Airport. Okay, well, this doesn't look like surrender to me, folks. This looks like they're pissed, and they're going to keep fighting. We kicked the hornet's nest, and now we get to deal with hornets. We got no business being over there. We shouldn't have done this. It was stupid. Anybody who thinks that they were 2 weeks away from having nuclear weapons clearly still believes that Donald Trump can heal people by touching their forehead. Let's see. Oh man, this is fun stuff. Just watching is John Cornyn trying to sabotage Ken Paxton, or more importantly, why do I care? Why would I care about that? They're all liars, cheats, and thieves. Amazon plans data center in Wheatfield, Indiana, and it'll pay $1.25 billion to reduce energy cost impact on local payers. Interesting. And by the way, on the other side of the globe, the cloud giant has purchased more land in India. So Amazon, and by the way, if you look at these data centers, all of them, I love Massey giving them fits. All of these data centers, except Amazon's, are losing their ass. Why aren't we attacking Israel and North Korea for having nukes? First of all, officially, Israel doesn't have nukes. You can ask them, and they'll tell you. They'll say something like, it's none of your business, going slave. You get to pay, but we will help you. Yes, exactly. You'll pay higher energy bills forever. But we'll help out for the first 6 months. Let's see. Some kind of record warns historical extremes. Yeah, we got some serious extremes going on. Central bank gold buying rebounds in April. Central banks, pillar of the bullish case for gold, have returned to adding holdings in April. Okay. Well, then I would add that to my list of reasons to buy some silver. Because if central banks are back on the wagon and they're buying again, and I can see the chart, they're buying in a big way. If they're buying gold, remember, gold and silver, precious metal, silver moves more than gold. Silver and gold for the last several thousand years have been at a ratio of 15-1. That is what is in the Constitution, the Gold Act of 1792. The Coinage Act, of 1792 said 15-1 ratio. If we return to a 15-1 ratio right now, with gold at 4,500 and a 15-1 ratio, what would the price of silver be per ounce? $300 an ounce at a 15-1 ratio. It's almost like I know that silver is going to go up, and that's why I'm in the silver business. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not just in the silver business. I'm also in the business of saving your life if the electricity goes off. Yes, that's true. Remember this. Survive the crisis. There you go. There it is. Survive the crisis book. Waiting for it from the printer right now. So if you've purchased one, some of you have, but some of you have not. Now, for those of you who have not purchased the book, you can buy it right there in my TikTok. You can go hit that TikTok button. It'll take you to howtube.com. And howtube.com is a cool little website where you can put videos and sell stuff right online. It's like an all-in-one shop for little businesses. So if you have a small business and you want to be able to educate people with a thing and then sell it, on YouTube, if you educate somebody about it, you say, hit the link below, like I'm doing right now. Well, on HowTube, you don't do that. On HowTube, you say, this is my product, this is what we do, and if you like it, click here and you can buy it. So it's like Amazon and YouTube combined. I know, smart, right? The guy who came up with this idea is a genius. So is his co-founding partner. So that's one of my other deals that I do is I own part of HowTube, and that's why I have my book, coins, etc. on HowTube. And by the way, go there. Yeah, you might want to sign up. I don't even know if it might be free to sign up. And I think like a professional super duper account with credit card processing and all that stuff is something like $9 a month. I don't even know, quite frankly. I know that the guys who are running it, they know what they're doing. They're really awesome guys. It is. It's a pretty cool deal. What's the minimum amount of silver to be purchased at a time? Since I'm from Hollywood, born and raised, born in the what's called Cedars of Lebanon Hospital. Now, headquarters Scientology. Fuck yeah, I went clear before going clear was cool. Think about that. Normally it's 100 ounces, but you know, give me a call. I got a little here, got a little there. So, Douglas, are you shitting me? You got to be kidding me, right? I just sold the only 20 peace dollars I have yesterday. I can get more, but man, I had peace dollars. I do have some buffaloes. Buffaloes are good. Yeah, give me a call. My number's up there, over there, right there. Yeah, if you go to my channel on here, you can definitely get my number. Give me a call, send me a text, let me know that you're not calling because my car warranty is about to expire, because it's not. It's not going to expire. Actually, my car warranty will never expire because I got rid of the Jaguar, my fancy schmancy, supercharged, badass chick car. I mean, chick car, not like, oh, hey, I drive a Miata. I mean, like, forgetting girls. Got rid of it because when the EMP hits, or the solar storm, whatever, by the way, we had two very, very solid little solar shots today. They were this close to an X class, two of them in a row, boom, boom. So we'll get that shock wave from the sun Friday or Saturday. We'll get hit with that. Now, will it destroy the world? No, it won't. You got nothing to worry about there. It could create a little radio interference. If nothing else, if you live up in the northern part of the United States, anywhere, you're going to see some beautiful skies. There's no question about that. Even smaller solar storms now are creating the weirdest conditions, and it's because our solar shield is weakening because our poles are shifting. So north and south poles are shifting. If you didn't know that, don't freak out. It's not like a conspiracy theory. It's not the CIA doing it. The poles shift back and forth all the time. They do it on every planet. The sun does it every 11 years, flips back and forth. Why? Wish I could fucking tell you. Wish anybody could tell you. We don't know. Nobody knows. Sometimes the North and South Pole go like this, and they just sort of wander around, and they snap back. Sometimes they flip. I mean, literally flip. And then, Antarctica would be the North Pole. Why? We don't know. We don't know what causes it. We can track it because whenever there's lava erupting, like there are 140 volcanoes a year on average go off, there's lots of lava. Well, the iron particles in the lava will either point that way or that way, or maybe they'll point that way, which means that as the lava cooled, they face the North Pole. Crazy, right? It's like little compasses frozen in time. So we can use the lava, we can see where the poles were. Anyway, the poles are shifting. Magnetic shield is weakened big time. Oh, it absolutely fucks with wildlife. Okay, there are two different things. There's an excursion where the poles just sort of move around a little bit and then they snap back after 500, 1,000 years, whatever. And then there's what we call a full Cron reversal, where they switch. During a full Cron reversal, and there have been thousands of them over the course of Earth's history. During a full Cron reversal, everyone that we can see in the fossil record has led to a mass extinction. And we don't know. We don't know if this is what we would call a full Cron reversal, or if this is just the poles sort of drifting and then they'll come back. There's no way to tell. We do know that the North Pole is hauling ass down over Siberia right now. It's on its way to what looks like Indonesia. And then the South Pole is no longer in Antarctica at all. Nobody knows that, but it's not there. As a matter of fact, where's my glove? Where is? Well, way up there. Anyway, the South Pole is also creeping much slower than the North Pole. The North Pole is hauling ass now, many kilometers per year. The South Pole is just creeping up. They look like, based on the how fast the North Pole is moving and how slowly the South Pole is moving, they will meet at Indonesia. That's impossible. North Pole and South Pole can't be in the same place. So the assumption is that at some point they'll get close enough that they'll wander away from each other, or as they're getting closer, one will pop out on the other side of the planet. Strangely enough, the other side of the planet is where we are having what we call the Southern Pacific anomaly right now. And the South Pacific anomaly is this huge hole in the ozone that wasn't created by us. It's not because of hairspray like back in the 70s. Chlorofluorocarbons are not the reason. It's just a hole in the ozone. If you live in Brazil, on a clear sunny day, you get about 500 times more radiation from the sun than I do in North America. So, tells the truth, he doesn't tell the whole story. Well, Dennis, what exactly is the whole story? There's more to this than I know. I doubt that. I doubt that very seriously. What's the other part? I study this shit constantly. I literally watched an entire hour documentary. Oh, okay. You're just full of shit. You're just shooting your mouth off. Okay, that's cool. There's plenty of trolls on the internet. You're just one of them. I hope you're safe and warm under your bridge. Bottom line is, I watched an hour about how Thwaites Glacier in Antarctica could break off and fall into the ocean. And if it breaks off and falls into the ocean, oh my God, sea levels are going to rise by 65 centimeters, or about a meter. And it's like, wait, what? Thwaites Glacier? Oh yeah, the Doomsday Glacier in Antarctica. It could break off and fall into the ocean. They literally showed an animation of the part of Thwaites Glacier that's in the water breaking apart. And as it's breaking apart, they said, see how it's breaking apart. It sticks out over, it's not touching land anywhere. They said, because this is picking up, now the rest of the glacier can slide off the continent. And they showed it touching the ground, and they showed how the ground goes up, and they showed it sliding up and over. And they said that the reason was the part that's in the water broke up. The part that's in the water has no resistance. The water's not pushing back against it to hold the glacier on the land. That is idiotic in the extreme to say that the water and the portion of the glacier that's in the water, the rest of the glacier. And if it breaks up, there's not going to be anything holding it back. And then it's going to slide uphill. So at the very end of all of this man-made, terrifying, all this shit, well, no, there's a lot of it that's not in the water. And that's why they said, if you have ice cubes in a glass of water, well, they melt, no deal. But as you add them, well, now you can overflow the. Okay, so I did the math. Thwaites Glacier is not even close to the size of Greenland. Okay, they said that the Greenland's ice sheet is approximately 2.9 million cubic kilometers. Huge. So I asked, what is the volume, the cubic kilometer volume of the oceans in the world? And they said, well, that's 1.33 billion cubic kilometers. And I said 1.33 billion kilometers. So 2.9 million kilometers would be another what? 300ths. So add that to the 1.33 billion, you get 1.36 billion. Okay, well, that's a tiny, tiny increase. They said that that tiny, tiny increase raised ocean levels by 24 feet globally. The average depth of the Pacific Ocean is 12,500 feet. So if Greenland melted, their numbers are completely off. Total horseshit. But I'm not talking about Greenland here, guys. We're talking about Thwaites Glacier, which is a quarter, maybe a tenth of the size of Greenland. And they're saying that that is going to raise sea levels by 3 feet. Basically, it's going to drown the Netherlands. You can kiss Florida goodbye, and New York City gone. And it's your fault. And right at the end, they said, "Oh, by the way, recently we've made some discoveries that make us feel a little bit better about the worst case scenario. They might not actually happen now. They could happen in the future, but we found that some of our worst case scenarios are they're more alarmist than they really need to be." And I thought, you just made me sit through an hour of doomsday bullshit. And then at the very end, you said, "Oh, and there's a little amendment here. Because the IPCC finally broke down last month and admitted that they've been lying for years about the outcomes. No, we're going to say that, yeah, we're probably off too." Trust the science. Don't test the science. Trust the science. And the crazy part is, people do. If a scientist says it, then it's got to be true. The problem with that is when they tell you that the digital currency is for your own safety, when they tell you that you need these data centers because they're going to take your job away with AI and make it better, make your life better. Okay. When does the government make my life better? When has the government ever made your life better? They take almost half of every dollar you make and they piss it away on things we don't and we don't want. That's right. They're going to make your life better by taking your job. They're going to take your job, and they're going to give it to a robot, and then what? Your life's better. Okay, well, but how? Come on, bro, don't be stupid. Universal basic income. Oh, UBI, right. UBI. Of course, how stupid of me. By the way, how much is my UBI going to be? So it's going to be a lot. Obviously, it's going to be huge, huge amount. Well, how much do you want? I don't know. What am I supposed to ask for? How much will rent be? Rent? Well, rent. It won't be rent. There's not going to be any rent. Well, I mean, there's going to be corporations that own rentals, yeah, but they'll just get part of the UBI. Okay, wait, what? So hold on. So the corporations, will they be the ones who own the buildings? And then they'll just give me a place to live for free? Based on what? You're not going to say some shit like every person based on their need and every person based on their ability. That is literally what the Communist Party of Russia said. That was the fucking motto that they put on posters in the 30s. That's crazy. Every person will be taken care of based on their needs, and every person will work based on their ability. I just turned into an idiot. I don't know anything. You can have an apartment for free? Yeah. I don't have to work, do I? Well, no, you're an idiot. Uh-huh. I mean, come on. People, there are old people to this day in Russia who are sad about the loss of the Soviet Union. Yes, it's true. There are. There are people who are sad in villages all over the place. They're like, yeah, it was so good back then. You didn't have to work. You know, you just, I mean, yeah, we were poor, but who cares? What do you mean who cares? Oh, we didn't have to do anything. We just sat around. We just hung out. That's what you did with your life. Yeah, you just hung out. And what? We could go fish, or we could go get drunk, or we could fish, get drunk. That's literally what people in a lot of those little villages in the Soviet Union did. Nothing. It's nothing. Okay, well, that works for some people. If you told me to just stay home and watch state TV all day, I'd lose my mind. No, I can't do that. I got to do something. I got to learn something. I got to build something. Figure out, discover something. No. That kind of thing is really not sort of encouraged in a society like that. I will leave you with this tonight. I want you guys, if you want some homework, I'll give you some homework. Paradise 25. Wow, they really fucked that up horribly. That is so sad. It's a bunch of music. All right, let me put in more. Experiment. Oh, finally. Okay. Yes, okay. So they called it Paradise 25, but now they're saying it's called Universe 25. Mouse Heaven, John Calhoun's experiment. Where was he? The Universe 25 experiment was a famous behavioral study conducted by ethologist John B. Calhoun in the early 70s. Designed a utopian enclosure for mice featuring unlimited food, water, and nesting material with no predators. Despite these perfect conditions, the population eventually collapsed into extinction. Severe social dysfunction. That is the Universe 25 experiment. When you look at what happened with Universe 25, think about the United States of America in 2025. No, I don't think he gave them any powdered sugar. But when you see what happened to this experiment and you see the reasons why, you'll understand exactly what's wrong with the United States. You'll understand why we are in the situation we're in. He even had a type of mouse called the beautiful ones. Think about that. Think about this looks maxing that people are doing. Did you lose that? Who? What are you talking about? This looks maxing. This guy. I forget his name. He's he's given himself shots of everything you can imagine. There are guys that literally hit themselves repeatedly with hammers because they want to build up their cheekbones. It's like, what is going on, guys? This is nuts. Looks maxing is a very, very important thing with young men, and it's really interesting because it's just nuts. Haircut that I've had for a month? No. This, by the way, it said, and I find that it was erroneous, it was blonde. That's not blonde. I mean, maybe if you're from Zimbabwe, you look at that and you go, oh yeah, he's blonde. But if you're actually blonde, that's blonde. That's not blonde. What do you do, man? It is what it is. See, Deborah likes the darker color anyway, so ha. Thank you, Deborah. You saved my ego. It's fragile, very fragile. I'm very thin-skinned, as you might have guessed. So, Universe 25 is really interesting because they had everything that our society has now in it. And by the way, when I say everything, I mean everything. You know these incels? Incel. Does everybody know what incel means? Incel is involuntarily celibate. Involuntarily celibate. Now, I can tell you from experience, being a man, having grown up in the United States, there are guys out there that look like Brad Pitt, George Clooney, and fuckers out there. You know, you got these guys out there that look like fucking superheroes, like Thor. And then, you got me, average looking guy. I have a little personality, I mean, not cute. I'm kind of rugged looking. It'll do. The idea that I would never be able to get a girlfriend ever actually makes me laugh because it really, I mean, there's a lot of like, look, what kind of girl am I going to go after? Well, it's not even a looks thing as much as it's a personality thing. if she looks like somebody stuck her face in a meat grinder, that's going to slow me down a bit. Like I went out on a blind date with a girl who had one eye that was down lower than the other, literally like the Goonies movie. And that was a tough one. That was a toughie. Not super attracted to her. But well, that's the thing. Could they buy a date hungover? That's actually right. That's what happens when you drink a lot for a long time. You quit drinking, you still look hungover all the time. It's true. So the reality is that the idea that you would be celibate, even though you don't want to be, it's like, what? I don't get it. Like, why? Put some effort into it. And of course, you see these guys, they're usually, a little sloppy looking, they haven't shaved, and they've got like starts little bits of hair here and there. And it's like, their hair is kind of greasy. And it's like, okay, hold on. Hit the fucking gym, put some effort into yourself, shave, get that little chin hair shit off, get a decent haircut, wear something other than a ripped t-shirt and sweats, put some effort into it. Oh, really? Like, what the hell, man? Where are you from? Yeah, this is like, make an effort. And then you won't be an incel. But there are millions of these guys across the United States. Millions of them. What? And then you got the far end of it. What is the guy's name? Clavicular? And he's this guy who's not bad looking, but he's not gorgeous. But he's done every steroid you can. His waist is this big, and his shoulders are wide, and he's young, and he's got big cheekbones, and it's all plastic surgery. He's got tons of plastic surgery. He's like 25 years old. What the fuck's going on? Well, he's what we call a looks master. His whole life is about getting better looking. What about his personality? Oh, he fucking has none. None whatsoever. He is rude. He's thoughtless. He's a complete asshole. Whoa, that sounds like a lot of really pretty girls now. Yep. So you've got this thing that's happening where you've got this divergence of humans. A small group are going over here and becoming beautiful ones. And then the rest are just not giving a shit anymore. They just don't even care. Across the board, people under 30 aren't having kids. They just don't want kids, period. What does that mean? See, not a lot to pick from these days. That's the problem, Deborah. There's never been more people in the United States than there are now. When I was born, there was like, I don't know, 150, 200 million. Now there's 340 million people in the United States. There's people everywhere. The problem is we don't know how to connect with each other anymore. We just don't connect. If I walk up to a woman, now it's a little different for me because, I'm huge. If I were 6'7", I weigh 300 pounds, it would be different. But when I walk up to people, I sort of overwhelm them, a big smile, and say hi, and they're like, "Oh, good, he's not hungry. That's good. He's not going to eat us, so we should be friendly to it, whatever it is." They definitely do that. Being is a job interview, but worse, because a lot of people now they think that your intentions are bad. Period. A lot of young women, they absolutely believe that your intentions are terrible and that they would rather be alone in the forest with a grizzly bear than a man. And that says a lot about our society, because that poll was overwhelmingly women would rather be alone with a fucking grizzly bear. Oh, Japan's the worst. Oh my God. But Japan's the worst. I saw, because, when I was in Japan, when I lived there, it was weird. Everywhere I lived in Asia, it fucks with you, because being my height and having blonde hair and blue eyes, it's, kids ask you for your autograph because you look so American. Girls, I remember seeing one girl saying that she would never date somebody, a white person with blonde hair and blue eyes. And the reason she said that was because she said that they are too beautiful, and if they broke up with her, she'd kill herself. It's like, what? That's horrible. But when in a homogenous society where everybody looks the same, give or take, it's, when you really stand out. I mean, think about it. Think about how it must be to be a good-looking black man and live in Germany. I know a few guys that were in the Marine Corps that were in Germany that were like, man, it's crazy over there. Well, yeah, because you're different. You're something new. You're something different, The Lulu. I have no idea what you're saying now, but I just imagine it's probably negative, because it seems like everything that you type into this live stream is either snotty or in some way negative. So I guess the question is, what the fuck is wrong with you, really? Well, I mean, when you live in Japan, you don't. It was weird being in, like, out in the middle of nowhere in Korea, or in the Philippines. I remember going to a village in the Philippines with a couple of my buddies, and it just so happened we all had blonde hair, blue eyes, and we were all surfers. And we went into this village in the middle of nowhere. We got as far away from the base as possible and leave. And we went into this village, and we gave the mama-san who was in charge of the village a case of sea rats that we had borrowed from the base. And people in town all came out to stare at us. And this was back in the 80s, obviously, but the people in the town all came out and stared at us. And we were like, oh, what's going on? Did we do something wrong? No, they just wanted to stare at us. Just thought we were really interesting looking. It was really cool, because we asked if we could set up our tents at the end of their little village, and they said no problem. The next day when we woke up, they told us, hey, we're gonna have a party. Like, a party? What kind of party are you having? It's like holiday? And they're like, no, for you. Obviously you're not from here, so we're gonna show you how we party in the Philippines. Somewhere they got a steel trash can. They filled it full of ice and San Miguel beer, an entire trash can full of beer and ice. They stuck a couple pigs underground. That's apparently they roast them. It was amazing. We got some butterfly knives, which we almost got confiscated, but we got some butterfly knives that a guy had made out of the leaf spring of an old dump truck, made by hand. Very cool people. I enjoyed the hell out of the Philippines. Really cool folks. Of course, I enjoyed Korea too. The Koreans are super cool, but juice, no. But I did have a good time in Korea, and Japan was a little bit more sedate. It wasn't, and they don't party the same way, and I think part of it is, we weren't enemies with the Koreans ever or the Filipinos. We fought on the same side, but the Japanese were a little standoffish, and it was probably more than anything because I was a Marine, and they still had some. They had some really like weird rumors going around still about Marines that we were, cannibals and shit like the old people believed it, not the young people, but the old people still thought that Marines were cannibals. During the invasion of Okinawa, they threw their children off of 300-foot cliffs at the end of the island rather than have them eaten by Marines. Yeah. Propaganda is nasty shit. That's why it was against the law to use propaganda on the United States of America from the United States of America until Obama. He did not re-up the law, and so it became legal for the United States of America to use propaganda against its own citizens. Yeah, that's a true story. Look it up. I remember when I found out that this law was up for, basically they assigned to keep going for another however many years, and they just chose to let it lapse. Now, let's go ahead and let's start using propaganda on these fuckers. It's like, wait, but we are the United States. Yeah, but you're not the United States government. See, we're the government, and you're separate from us. Ugh. I want our $1 billion back Obama gave Iran. That wasn't our money. Dennis, that was Iran's money. We held it for years and years and years. Since 1979, I believe, we had their money locked up. And we said, look, if you follow these rules, we'll give you back your $6 billion that we've been holding on to for 40 years. And they said, okay. They followed all the rules. We sent in weapons inspectors, and they snooped around and did their thing. And we came back and said, yep, all right, that's good. They're following the rules. And we said, all right, give them their money. This thing that Trump keeps saying about how we gave them money, we didn't give them money. We literally put it on pallets. Yeah, we literally put there, because they said, look, just send it to us. And we said, okay, well, we're not going to send you your Iranian money. We don't have that much. We'll send you American dollars. And they said, okay, whatever. So if you've ever seen what $1 billion looks like, $1 billion is a pallet full of $100 bills that's about, about 4 feet high, 3.5 feet high. So we said, all right, we'll send it to you. We fucking loaded it onto a C-141, 6 pallets. Sent it to them. And you know what? That's fine. What did we get? Nothing. It was our money. Dennis, it wasn't ours. The country of Iran invested money into the United States and said, here, Chase Manhattan, here's $6 billion. Can you invest this for us? And we said, sure. And then the Shah of Iran got run out of the country. And then the Ayatollah took over, and we said, oh, well, shit, you guys are terrorists. We're not giving you that money. And they said, okay, but that's our money. We said, well, yeah, it's your money, but we're not going to give it back to you. It's like, okay. Did you know that we have $300 billion of Russia's money? Yeah, we're sitting on $300 billion of money that Russia invested in the United States. And we told them, look, if you full-on invade Ukraine, it's not good. Now, if you just go in to the Donbass region and try to denazify that area and, like basically just protect the ethnic Russian citizens, that's different. And Putin said, okay, well, I'm just going to go in. I'm not going to send a 1,000,000-man army down there. I'm going to send 90,000 guys, and basically we're just going to cut off the Donbass region from the Nazis. And we said, well, we're going to look the other way. When he did it, we went, hey, fuckers, you invaded a country. We're keeping you $300 billion. Now, we've admitted that it's not ours, it's just locked up. Now, here's the funny part. Immediately, the investment bank that has the money said, well, wait, hold on. We've had money for years now, and it's been building interest. The $300 billion still belongs to Russia, obviously. It's their money, and we're just sort of holding it in jail for them. But can we keep the interest that we make on the money? Think about how much interest you can make on $300 billion over 10 years. You could make $300 billion over 10 years at 10%. Woo! Man, the money changers in this country sure do have balls, don't they? Because I can guarantee you this, that did not make Putin happy. And that's not what it's, well, here's the thing. When other countries invest in the United States and they think that they're going to get their money back, it's like, hey, you're not getting your money back if you don't do everything we tell you from now on. That's the problem. The only thing more dangerous than being an enemy of the United States of America is being our fucking ally. Remember that, because I'm not the one who came up with that saying. That's something that the United Kingdom came up with. Oh yeah, I mean we rob and steal and then we blame everybody else, and it's like, I mean, look, am I a pro-Iranian guy? No, I don't like Muslims. No, I don't. And it's not the people. Look, I've dated some hot fucking Middle Eastern girls. And they were Muslim. But they were about as Muslim as I am, a cat. But the thing is that Islam as that's not your natural hair color. Are you fucking serious? Is that what you want to talk about? Dude, who hurt you? Get over it, man. Did your mom not breastfeed you? Or what? That is really sad. You're a sad little man. I'm going to keep you around. I'm not going to block you because I want you to just keep showing people how tiny-minded you are. Man. Nice deflection. Yeah. It's yeah, well, I think he's running out of money for video games, so this is the best he's gonna do, but whatever. Bottom line is that I've never been a big fan of Islam just because it's crazy. It's just nuts. So why would I want to defend Iranians? It's not because they're Muslim or not Muslim. It's because we literally told them that their money was safe with us. And then when they kicked out the guy that we installed, and remember, Iran elected a president. Iran elected a president. Okay. And then British Petroleum went to the president of Iran and said, hey, we want to take the oil out of the ground here, and we're not going to give you very much money for it. But that's okay. And he said, well, pardon me? No, this is a natural resource for the people of Iran. And you're going to pay me enough that I can share the profits with all Iranians. That's why they elected me. This is a socialist country. And the reason it's socialist is because everyone in this country is a Persian. Doesn't matter if they're Christian or Jew or Muslim, they're Persians. And Persians share with each other, period. And at that point, British Petroleum said, You selfish son of a bitch. You actually want us to pay you for the oil we're taking out of your ground. All right. Well, hey, United States, we got a problem here. And then we did what the CIA always does. We overthrew the elected government in Iran. The legally elected government, the president of Iran, Mossadegh. We said, no, you can't be president anymore. Oh my God, there's a whole army coming to kill you. Well, he ran from the country. And then we found this guy who had been educated in the United States. And we called him the Shah. And he said, I am now the king of Iran. People were like, king? We don't have a king. What are you talking about? At which point he said, you will refer to me as the Shah, which is basically king. And if you don't, that's okay. That's why I have the secret police. And all of a sudden, thousands of people started disappearing all over Iran. Thousands of people disappeared. Because if you questioned the Shah, you disappeared. Now, what did the Shah do? He turned around and he handed their national oil supply to, you guessed it, British Petroleum. This time we weren't even bullies for ourselves. That's the fuck part. This time we went in and destroyed a country for England, for British Petroleum, MI6, our buddies. We went in and helped destroy a country for them. A country with literally tens of millions of people in it. Jews, Christians, and Muslims that all live together. They all live together peacefully. No problems. You probably don't know this, but there's over 1 million people out of the 93 million that live in Iran to this day that are Jews. And they don't want to leave Iran. They have no interest in leaving Iran because the Iranians treat them so well. What? Why? Because not everything boils down to, my book says I have to kill you. And the only people who are dead set on doing that are the most radical Muslims, the most radical Jews, the most radical Christians. If you took that 2% off the top of every one of these religions and just dropped them off in the deepest part of the ocean without a life preserver, the world would cease to have wars. Period. That's it. When I listened in on a discussion that the ISIS members were having as they swept across Iraq, before they started killing Yazidis as though they were flies, one of the things that I heard, and this was really interesting because it was a group of young soldiers, ISIS soldiers. They had no idea that this room was bugged, by the way. And what they were talking about was they were talking about what they wanted. And one of them said, I just want a nice young 14-year-old girl with green eyes. That's all I want. And the other one was like, with all the fighting we're doing, no. I want big breasts, and I want her to have straight. I'm sorry. This is ISIS, the fundamentalist Muslim group who's trying to ethnically cleanse the Middle East, people who aren't true believers in Allah? No, not at all. It's a bunch of pedophile, horny perverts that are marauding their way across the country looking for the perfect teenage girl that they can make into a slave. And that's exactly what they did. They would take these poor girls, these Yazidi girls, and they would turn them into slaves. And they keep them around for a while until they get tired of them, and they just, set them on fire and move on. I've got documents that show 19 girls. They're all in a cage. We're all set on fire. But I'm not allowed to say anything about it because that makes me Islamophobic. Really? The world's an insane place right now on purpose. That's a question you can't answer out loud, really. Like ice. I'm trying to figure out what that like ice like. Oh, you killing people? Yeah. Look, if it were me, if I were that cop that was standing in front of that woman's car, well, let me back up two steps. Literally, I would back up 2 steps. If I were that cop, I would not have stepped in front of the woman's car to begin with. When I saw that she was putting the car in gear and pulling forward, I would have just stepped out of the way and called for backup and said, "Hey, I got this woman who clearly wants to go to jail today, so can you guys do me a favor and pull her over?" God knows there's enough police in Minneapolis. She would have gotten pulled over within a couple blocks. She didn't appear to be. She wasn't screaming "fuck you, I'll kill you, son of a bitch." She actually, I think, was screaming something like "have a nice day." So that's one of those. That's one of those where it's like, you know who your enemy really is, because it's probably not a middle-aged housewife. That's probably not who you want to put a slug in. That's not the dangerous one. So the idea that they didn't think that one, that he didn't think that one through, and then everybody rushed to cover for him. Oh man, my God, it was her fault. She was trying to run him over. Come on, we all saw what happened. Don't do that. Don't do that. You just embarrass yourself when you cover for somebody who clearly fucked up royally, had too much testosterone in his system. He's probably on a bunch of testosterone. He was probably abused as a kid and decided to become a cop or an ICE agent so that nobody ever fucked with him again. And he's just waiting for a reason to pull that piece. Well, he found a reason. He killed a chubby, cute, middle-aged woman. Oh, shit. That looks great on the record. Tell that one to the pearly gates, No, not all are bad. That's a fact. But the ones that are bad are protected. Keep in mind, I was in the Marine Corps. A lot of friends of cops. A lot of guys that I know that are very disappointed in the way that the system works, because you basically are either one of them or you're not. And if you're one of them, you protect them. And yeah, there's a lot of assholes that get protected. And it's like, look, it's either a false sense of loyalty, or in a lot of cases, it's okay, this guy fucked up, but if we admit that he fucked up, it looks bad for all of us. And everybody's just going to hold this against us. So let's just look the other way, pretend this never happened. Let's just move on. It's not a big deal. Now, that obviously was a huge deal. But you get used to the idea of, okay, you screwed up, just let's move on. Don't do it again, man. Somebody pulls you aside and says, well, slow down, dude. Well, maybe you realize that was a little overboard. I was a little rough, or, I shouldn't have said that, or whatever. Or you go, yeah, fuck you. Do whatever I want. I am the law. That's why, by the way, just so you know, the highest amount of psychopaths in the world are in the clergy, because they are God. They literally speak for God. So they can get away with an unbelievable amount of stuff. Politicians, because they speak for the people. Cops, because they are the law. And then, of course, the number one place, CEOs of companies. There are more psychopathic CEOs than in any of the boardrooms where you find the highest concentration of psychopaths, because they are ruthless. And look, ruthless as a human being. When I'm on a date with a girl and I tell her, look, just so we're clear, I don't take no for an answer. You should know that going in. It's like, what? Holy shit. This is not good. But if I said that when I was in a job interview, and you said, what makes you suited to be the CEO of my company? I don't take no for an answer. I always get what I want. I always win. Doesn't matter. By hook or by crook, it doesn't matter. I always find a way to win. Oh, all right. Well, shit, get meant for the job. How could we possibly not make money with a guy like you in charge of our company? Right. Does that mean that I'll have to break a few laws, dump some toxic chemicals into a swamp somewhere? Who gives a fuck? Who cares? You think I give a shit about a bunch of ducks that I've never met? I got shareholders to protect. Really? You're not loyal to your shareholders? Goddamn right. I live and die based on their shareholder price. You mean your shareholder price? Well, I mean, I own 5 million shares too, but that's not why I do it. I do it for them, not me. Oh, really? How selfless of you. That is why the United States is in the position where that's why 18,300 people own 89% of all the wealth and resources in this country. And then the other 340 million of us have to fight for the scraps. Now, there's plenty of scraps. There's millions and millions of dollars worth of scraps being around if you want to go grab them. If you're clever, you grab a bunch of scraps. But don't get it twisted. That's what they are. It's the leftovers. Now, could we have a situation where everybody in this country is comfortable? Yeah, absolutely. Rich? No. Doesn't work that way. Some people don't want to be rich. Some are too lazy. Some people aren't intelligent enough. They've got an IQ of 65. Okay, but could we be in a position where at least those folks could live a comfortable life? Yeah, of course we could. Yes, absolutely. Could we have some kind of a affirmative situation where you take care of the people who clearly can't take care of themselves? Of course. Absolutely. Just make sure you sterilize them first. This is a little euthanasia joke there. That's a whole other issue, right? Because keep in mind that the people with the low IQs, they're the ones who have the most kids. That's a fact. So you can't tell them not to have kids, can you? Because that's that's your birthright. God gave you the ability to have lots and lots of kids. So you should have lots and lots of kids. Unless, of course, you're smart. You probably won't have any, or maybe just one, unless you're smart and wealthy. Because wealthy people need having kids. I mean, look, I look at these numbers all day long. Affluence and wealth is the greatest birth control on earth. Look at China. Their population is literally in free fall collapse right now. Absolute free fall collapse. And the reason is they became wealthier. They moved out of the farms, they moved into the cities, they got jobs, they started to make enough money that's like, well, wait a minute. Do we want 10 children? Well, on a farm, 10 children are a huge asset. But in the city, 10 children are 10 very expensive pets. Do you really want that many? No. Okay, then. Yeah, I actually did see the movie Idiocracy. I tried to watch it about 10 years ago, and I just couldn't sit through it. I sat through it recently, and it was hard because part of me found some of it very funny. It's comedy, obviously. But it's not really a comedy at all. It's the whole movie. The reason it didn't do well in the theaters is because the initial screenings of that movie when it came out absolutely horrified all of the corporations who had signed on to be part of it. And trust me when I say it, all of them did. I mean, Burger King, Jack in the Box, McDonald's, Pepsi, Coke, everybody wanted to be in this movie because it was going to be funny. And then they realized, like, oh my God, this is gonna make all of our products look like we're part of the reason that these people are so fucking stupid. Huh. Well, now what? And that's the problem. It literally, it was so good at pointing out where we're going. And think about this. Okay, we would never have a WWE wrestler as president, right? Well, wait, wasn't Donald Trump like in doing shit with the WWE, and he'd go to a bunch of the wrestling things to get a bunch of publicity? This is like 20 years ago, right? He had all kinds of stuff. He did all kinds of stuff with SmackDown and shit like that. And then, of course, the saddest part is you look at like Jesse Ventura, who actually could be a good president, and he was a professional wrestler. IQs are going down. They're not going down as quickly as they were before. And the reason, of course, is we finally took lead out of the gasoline. So not everybody is breathing and eating tetraethyl lead. Fluoride is still a huge issue. They have proven now in court beyond any doubt that children who drink fluoridated water have an IQ between 10 and 15 points lower than they would if they did not drink fluoridated water. It actually takes your IQ down by a very measurable amount. Well, that'll do it. Yeah, so there you go. WWE, no. He's going to have the UFC. And we'll see how that works out. I mean, the whole Freedom 250 thing is falling apart. Everybody, all the artists said, no thanks, don't want to do that. I mean, don't get me wrong, Vanilla Ice is still pumped. You know, it's funny. I actually saw Jesse Ventura in a town hall thing where he was at the university, and everybody was talking about what a terrible governor he was, and he literally said, "Okay, well, give me some examples," and they gave him a bunch of examples, and then he stood up and said, "Okay, this is what happened. Does anybody say that that's not true?" No, that's true. Okay, so this is why I did this, and this is what happened next. Can we all agree on that? Yeah. Okay. And what's the problem? What else could I have done? And it was shocking because literally there were people who got up who were clearly young Democrats, hated him, and at the end of his explanation about why he did things that they had pointed out, they went, "Oh," and he would say, "Does that make sense?" And they go, "Yeah, actually it does." You go, "Okay." Everybody'd laugh and they'd sit down. And I was like, son of a bitch, it seems like everybody hates Jesse Ventura, but nobody can give me a specific reason that they think he was a shitty governor. Now, not being popular doesn't mean he was a bad governor. Not being popular means that he said, "Okay, look, guys, this clusterfuck is going to end, and I'm going to end it. It's going to be painful." Everybody said, "No, I don't want that." That makes sense. Because the reality is, right now, if we had a real president, we would be in real pain right now. The United States of America would be in real pain. Because we have to fix some things that are so deeply systemic that it is going to feel like somebody ripped our guts out for at least a few years. And Raymond is exactly what I said. Literally, that is exactly what I'm talking about. All Democrats do is lie. How's that for a statement? Just a statement of fact. There's somewhere in the neighborhood of 160 million Democrats, and all they do is lie. isn't literally there isn't a single fucking honest one among them. All they do is lie. That's it. Now, obviously, Tammy, I'd say it's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Yeah, because Democrats have great ideas. They can't make them work. That's the problem. They can't make them work. But the great idea is, hey, healthcare for everybody, free healthcare for everybody. Fuck yeah, I want that. Can you make that work? No. But you said it. Yeah, we want it. Okay, we'll do it. Well, we can't. Why? Well, because we just come up with good ideas. We can't actually execute them. Oh, well, who could? Well, Republicans are good at executing stuff, like making shit happen. Okay, well, talk to them. Well, they don't want to talk to us. Why? If they don't like the stuff we do. Okay, well, what do they do? Well, they don't think about shit. They don't come up with ideas. They come up with things that can kill. Oh, so you come up with ideas, they shoot them down, and then what gets done? Nothing. That's really not good, is it? Well, of course, that's the problem. It's like, right now we're in a situation where we're paying for a war that nobody wanted. Now, I get it. There are enough really, truly, incredibly stupid people out there that they were like, yeah, we better go get Iran, man. We've been waiting to get Iran for 50 years. No, we haven't. No, we haven't. We've been waiting to get Iran for 50 years. How have we been waiting? Well, they blew up the embassy in 82. Well, first of all, they didn't blow up the embassy. Hezbollah blew up the embassy. Did they have backing from Iran? Well, that's what the CIA told us, yeah. Did we ever get even for that? 200 people? 200 Marines, 247 Marines. What was our retribution? Oh, in 1988, we shot down an Iranian airliner. Yeah, civilian airliner. On a planned civilian airline route with its beacon on, after they had identified themselves as an Iranian airliner 4 separate times, we accidentally blew them out of the sky. Oh, it's an accident. Did we pay any reparations? Well, the thing is, they went to the United Nations, and the United Nations said, hey, accidents happen. So then they went to the World Court, and eventually, like 1998, like 10 years later, we paid, it was like $130 million to the families of the people we killed, because they were all civilians. Yep. So the question is, did we shoot them down on purpose? I don't know. Sure would be hard to do. Who got reparations for the Twin Towers? You didn't know? The Jewish guy who owned the Twin Towers. Yeah, he had just bought them 90 days prior to them getting blown up. And he insured them specifically against terrorist attacks. And then when he said, hey, you don't owe me $3.9 billion, you owe me twice that much, because it was actually 2 different airplanes, therefore 2 different terror attacks. And the insurance company, which we know, insurance companies don't pay anything you don't have to. The insurance company said, oh, that's a good point. Okay, here. They gave him $8 billion instead of $4 billion. Yeah, Larry Silverstein. Man, what amazing. He's a friend of Benjamin Netanyahu's, by the way. What a coincidence that is. That's so crazy. By the way, Stephen Witkoff, you're the guy who's in charge of negotiating for us with Satan, Jared Kushner. Witkoff had never missed a single day at work. He had never been late a day in his life. But on 9/11, for the first time ever, he took his daughter to school first before going to work. And he just happened to not be there when his entire company, all 650 employees, were killed in that attack. Man, talk about another heck of a coinky dink, right? But he did share with them the enormous hundreds of millions of dollars that he got from the insurance company. He shared that with the families. Oh, that's right. No, he didn't. He kept that for himself. He didn't share a fucking thing with the families. Yeah. Yeah, that's the guy who's always laughing in the background whenever Trump talks about anything. He's got a hell of a sense of humor, I'll say. Yeah, and he had a club. Well, it's not like Witkoff has any other dirt on him. It's not like he lived next door to Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years. But in his own defense, he only did once when he first moved in, because they had townhomes or the brownstones, or the fuck they call those things back east. And, they're on the other side of the wall from each other. But they only met once. His wife got the creeps, said, "I hate that guy. I'll never talk to him again." Cool. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, except for the time that he stopped by the island. But he stopped by the island with his wife, his family. To be honest, it was just a luncheon thing. They just happened to be in the neighborhood. It's like, oh, look. I didn't realize look right over there. There's a Sumerian temple on top of the hill. That must be Jeffrey's house. I guess, since we're in the neighborhood, we'll stop by. Let's take our kids, because that's always fun. By the way, strange picture came out the other day. I saw it. I don't think many people have yet, but it's going to be famous. There's a picture of Jeffrey Epstein with Ghislaine Maxwell and some other people, and they're celebrating his 50th birthday. Now, this is way after he and Trump had their falling out, and he was kicked out of Mar-a-Lago and not allowed to come there and all that stuff, right? So he wasn't allowed to go anywhere near Mar-a-Lago. But the funny part is, this picture, you can look it up, it's on his 50th birthday. And he's in Mar-a-Lago. He's in Trump's house. We know that because you can look in the background and see all the same decorations. It's the same room. And he's there for his 50th birthday when that card got given to him. Trump said he didn't sign with boobs on it. And Trump said, "That's not my signature." And it was clearly Trump's signature. It's not Photoshop there, Dennis. It's part of the Epstein files. It's part of the files that they released on accident, and it's not Photoshopped. Now, if you want to keep defending Trump, then explain this to me. Why is he trying so hard to keep all those files locked up? Why would you do that? If you're innocent, just assume he's innocent, okay? Let's just say, bad rap. Trump is a good person. He's a good man. Good guy. Why is he so insane about keeping those 3.5 million pages of files locked up? Congress already voted. The law has been passed. They must be released. They're not doing it. But the Department of Justice has to. Why would they have to? Because they work for the Congress. because Dems aren't in charge. Who's got them? Who's got those files? The Department of Justice has those files. And who's in charge of the Department of Justice? The Attorney General of the United States of America. And who is that? Trump's personal attorney. Trump's attorney is now the Attorney General. Dennis, I'm sad for you, man. That is sad that you're saying that. He literally called the Epstein files a Democratic hoax. Think about that for a second. A Democrat hoax. The president publicly stated it's a Democrat hoax. They? Who's they? They tried to assassinate him 5 times. That's evidence. What are you talking about? No, he's not desperate for attention. He's desperate to hold on to what he believes because he feels like an asshole if he doesn't, just like I did. Really? Come on. You don't think the Democrats are all over the Epstein files just like the Republicans? Come on, man. Think about it. They literally voted, Congress voted unanimously. All the Democrats said yes, release the files. All the Republicans said yes, release the files. Ro Khanna is a Democrat. Thomas Massie is a Republican. They voted together, and they made this happen. I don't even know what that means. I can tell you this. I'm sorry that you're getting everything from Fox News. That's clearly what you're doing because, I mean, where else could you be watching the news where you would be so completely wrong about this? Like, this is part of the public record, dude. You can Google this and you'll see. Like, Trump went from, during the election, he was saying, we will absolutely release all of the Epstein files, period. Kash Patel, we will absolutely release these fucking things my first day. Okay, great. Well, you guys got elected. Trump got elected. You got put in place. Now what? Kash Patel. There are no Epstein files. Right, Dennis? You remember that, right? You remember Kash Patel saying there were no Epstein files, right? Don't tell me you don't remember that. Exactly. Well, think about it, Dennis. Come on, man. I would do the same thing. So I was like, wait, there's no Epstein files. I thought there were Epstein files. Kash Patel, who, by the way, I was super excited when he got put in. I was like, sure, we're going to get these motherfuckers. We're going to find out who these bad guys are. And then all of a sudden he goes, yeah, there's no Epstein files. What? And Dan Bongino? I was all excited, man. Dan Bongino, he's going to fucking rip these guys' throats out. Like, this motherfucker is hardcore. I picked the right guy for this job. And he's sitting right there next to Patel. No, Epstein files. And Epstein killed himself. Look, I know Epstein killed himself. It's like, what? That's the problem, though. Because I do know this. I know that they lied. There are Epstein files. Oh, those Epstein files. Okay, all right. So yes, there are Epstein files. This is what they did. Remember, because this isn't ancient history. We just lived through this. Right. There are Epstein files. As a matter of fact, we're going to release them. And people walked out of the White House. I'll never forget this. They walked out of the White House with big 3-ring binders. Hey, look, I got my Epstein files. Everybody was like, hey, look, I got my copy of the Epstein files. There's like 20 pages in there. Hey, look, I got my copy of the Epstein files. It's like, what the fuck was that? Where are the Epstein files? Oh, that's all there are. Wait, Pam Bondi said that they were on her desk. Yeah, that's what was on her desk. That's it. Okay, well, then all of a sudden Thomas Massie, a Republican, and Ro Khanna, a Democrat, go, No, 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 no. We know that there are millions of files and you lied to us. Now, we're going to make a vote. If you want to vote against our bill, you go right ahead. If you're a Democrat or Republican, if you want to stand up for Jeffrey Epstein publicly, now's your chance to stand up for him and against justice. Holy shit, nobody's going to do that. So, of course, it's unanimous, totally unanimous. Everybody said, okay, cool. We're in. Yeah, release them all. Well, Pam Bondi didn't have any choice. So she released the first half. 3.5 million pages. What? 3.5 million pages? Yeah. Okay, is that it? Nope, there's another half. Ooh. What? Yeah, 3.5 million more pages. Okay, well, release those too. You have to release them all. No, that's what they said. No. Okay, wait. Who the fuck asked the question? It wasn't a question. It was a legal demand. The law. Congress sets the laws. Congress said it's now a law that you must release the Epstein files in their entirety. Okay. Cool. So who's going to do that? Well, the Justice Department literally works for Congress. Okay, so they have to do what Congress says. Well, yeah, I mean, we all have to do what Congress says. They're called fucking laws. Okay, so then they're going to do it. Nope. It's like, wait. Okay, no. No. That's not an option. Okay, so you've got when Congress makes a law and it's voted on unanimously, all the Democrats and all the Republicans agree for fucking once on something. So it's a law now. And they say, comply. And you say, there's only one answer, by the way. It starts with a Y. Yes. Because if you don't comply, you go to prison. You're held in contempt of Congress. Don't do that. You could be sentenced to 10, 15 years in federal prison. So you have to comply. So the only answer to this is yes, here. So they gave over half and they said here, the other half, no. Congress said no, all of it, and they said no. No, under whose authority? Well, under the authority of just no. Okay. Again, under the authority of whom? Because no one has authority over Congress. Remember, co-equal branches of government. The executive is not higher up. Okay, so if Congress says, I'm legislative, you're executive, I say, here's the law. You say, no, I don't comply. You're going to prison. The president is not above the law, and Congress makes the laws. So the president cannot then go to the attorney general and say, fuck those guys, don't do it. No, sorry, President, but you don't have authority over them. Okay, so then who in our government exactly decided they could withhold this? Yeah, but look what happened to Nixon. I mean, you can't You can't tell Congress to fuck themselves. You cannot legally get away with that. They can impeach you for that. Here's my question. Why hasn't anyone even talked about that yet? You want to know why? Because there are thousands of names in those 3.5 million documents. Thousands of names. Trump's name. Look, do you think Trump wants you to know that his wife may have been a prostitute? Do you think he wants you to know that his wife was, in fact, Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend before she met Donald Trump? You probably didn't know Prince Andrew's biography, when it came out, he actually talked about that. He said that she was dating Jeffrey Epstein, and when she met Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein said, yeah, go ahead. Go with him. Fine with me. I get more of it. I'll get plenty. Now, we hired him for his business skills. Yeah, he's doing a great job negotiating with Iran, didn't he? By the way, if I went bankrupt 6 times and you said you didn't want me to run your business, I would. But until he succeeded, Dennis, come on, man. I get it. You're watching Newsmax all the time. You're watching Israeli TV. Come on, really? Until he succeeded, we haven't gotten anything from Iran we wanted. Did we get the yellow cake? Nope. Did we get the Strait of Hormuz open? Nope. Did we get the regime change we were looking for? No. Did the entire government fall? No. Did the people of Iran turn on the leadership and kill all the government, and now they're all free and they're all drinking Budweiser? So what exactly did we win? Let's see. We kicked the hornet's nest. They scared the fuck out of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates. They made the value of real estate in Dubai, the richest country in the world, drop by 80% overnight. They made the president threaten to blow up one of our closest allies in the region, Oman. And they basically made themselves look like they are one hell of a lot stronger than we thought they were before. Dennis, I want you to go back. You don't have to do this, but this is something I think you should do. I want you to go back and I want you to watch the inauguration. Okay? I want you to watch as he takes the oath of office. Every president, every single president, since the very first president, has put their hand on the Bible. Now, when I say they put their hand on the Bible, I got to be very careful with this one. This one's been in my family for well over 100 years. All right. What I mean is, the president always puts their hand on the Bible, just like you do in court, to swear. Now, a lot of times nowadays, you just raise your hand, which means nothing. But you used to put your hand on the Bible. Go back and watch the inauguration. I think you're going to be very upset when you see what happened, because most people didn't catch it. Donald Trump refused to put his hand on the Bible. The Bible's there. The Chief Justice held the Bible out, and Donald Trump looked at it and put his hand down at his side and wouldn't touch it. When his daughter decided that she was going to convert from Christianity to Judaism, he said that he was happy for her. Jews deny Christ completely and utterly. They deny Christ. If you are a Christian, then they deny the existence of your Savior. They say that he was a false prophet, period. Donald Trump celebrated when his daughter left Christianity to become an apostate and become a Jew. He celebrated that. Donald Trump doesn't love America. Donald Trump loves Donald Trump. Bill Clinton loved Bill Clinton. George Bush loves the Texas Rangers and beer. He's probably the best out of all of them. But, I mean, come on, man, let's not. Jesus also preached to Gentiles too. Okay, well, I can see that it's going to take more than one live stream to help you. Yeah, I don't think you understand what's going on there. The fact that he wouldn't put his hand on the Bible. Oh, I love Reagan. I thought Reagan was awesome, man. I joined the Marine Corps because of Ronald Reagan. He sent me a letter and said, yeah, you scored in the top 1% of high school seniors, 17-year-olds. And so, it was like, okay, cool. I just turned 17, and my dad said, that's it. You're joining the Navy, or you're going in a foster home. And I said, join the Navy? I don't think so. I joined the Marine Corps instead. Sure, Abraham Lincoln was awesome. Yep, he has the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. Back then, the highest you could score was 150. Now it's different, but you can only score 150 points. And I scored 146 somehow. I have no idea how. I just remember it was a 6-hour test. I just remember sitting in the library, and it was just one thing after another, and just thinking to myself, wow, that's cool. All right, I got this. Okay, so if the belt starts here, what direction is it going up here? Just following. It's like, shit, this is like fucking like any other belt. It's like the belt system on the front of a 350 engine. Why would this be any different? So I guess some people have a hard time with that, but I grew up working on cars. That's easy, But, that's the thing. I am open-minded. I mean, I thought Trump was going to absolutely kick ass. MK Ultra was actually what my dad did for a living. My dad was with the CIA. My dad was part of the CIA. The Van Allen radiation belts. What the fuck are you bringing that up for? I mean, I assume when you say Van Allen belts, that's what you mean. The Van Allen radiation belts that apparently no human can go through without it killing you, radiation. But somehow we went through them in an aluminum can. Oh, yeah. I definitely have ADD. The Van Allen radiation belts. Okay, well, hey, that's cool. The Van Halen belt. The Van Halen radiation belts, yeah. It's a white powdery substance, but it's radioactive too. Oh, man. Yeah, as a matter of fact, 9:30, time for me to go. But tomorrow, of course, I do the same thing, same bat channel. So I'll be here. Might be late. It might be 7:30 when I get on here. MK Ultra. All right, Dennis, take it easy, man. All right, guys. I got out of here. Ali, have a great night. Hey, by the way, follow me. And by the way, buy the book. Remember, you can buy the book right there. so funny. 2 cents. Oh. Okay. Now this is still on. I'm still live streaming. Thank God. Other artists who said they are not bailing is CNC Music Factory, who, as you know, devastated by